call Allah Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bashem Rakah Chodash. This is Malak Maganya from Jim Estrano 2, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. I say double honor to the apostles of Great Millstone, who rule and teach well in spirit and in truth, and to the elders and to the men and women who are crying and sighing also for the abominations that are being done within and without, agents, false prophets, false teachers, the mark of the beast, the Motb. We've been prophesying in the spirit, starting with the apostles of the Great Millstone, about 40 years, a little bit over 40 years for the El Apostletar, and the other apostles in there are very close to those numbers. So yes, we're at the end, okay, winding down things, and as you can clearly see here by the title, okay, I'm going to verify some things here. I'm going to give you the scripture where this man here, he quotes. It says, "White pastor sparks outrage after preaching that black people should be under white leadership." Okay, so I mean, I don't know where this guy came from. I mean, simply put, I did a chat GTP and Google him and look, and you know, these guys, they always remain anonymous. They're not really transparent. So it tells me that, you know, he's going to try to be maniacal as much as possible. But anyway, the title says it all: white leadership. Now, like I said, I did chat and I pulled up the precepts, okay, that this man used. So we're going to go there and break it down correctly for you folks, because the term black people, you can't just put all dark-skinned people as the same. The Israelites is like the sand of the sea, the biggest nation on planet Earth, okay? And simply put, we look like everybody. And the Lord also has preserved dark melanin there as well. But there's also the Hamites, right? The Hamite nations. And there are other nations that are mingled that look dark, okay? And then there are the Shemitic nations, right? So out of that, the only nation that has leprosy is Edom, Esau, Edom, right? Jacob's brother. 2 nations are in thy womb, okay? One was like a hairy garment, like basically fur. Simply put, that's just how the Lord made him, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it tells you who he is. And the other man had a hair as well, but it was curly hair, smooth. Okay, one man like a fur, and you know, one man curly. Hey, this is how the Lord made these nations. He started the distinction from in the womb, from they were fighting. But anyway, let's get to the precepts real quick. I'm going to go to Genesis 9. It says Genesis 9. Yeah, and from this guy quoted there, 24 to 27. This is what he quoted, okay? And they got uproared out there, so I just want to clarify some things here. So I'm going to read what he quoted. Genesis 9, 24 to 27, that's what he read. So I'm going to read it today from the NLT, straight, okay? Genesis 9 and 24. I'm going to read to 27 what this man said, that black people. Okay, so listen, all right, real quick. So yes, it says, when Noah woke up from his stupor, he learned what Ham, his youngest son, had done. Okay, and we're going to find out who this Ham is. Okay, Genesis 9 and 25. Then he cursed Canaan. You see, Canaan, that would be later on Ham's grandson, the son of Ham. Then he cursed Canaan. All right, his son. And he says, "May Canaan be cursed. May he be the lowest of servants to his relatives." Okay, 26. Genesis 9:26. Then Noah said, may the Lord thy power of Shem, okay, Shem, or Shem, Shemitic, Shem, don't forget that, be blessed. So in other words, this word blessed, when you go into it, I'm going to just tell it to you simply. It means to bow, and it means to worship, and it means to be obedient. Okay, that's the first thing. And people have taken the word and said be blessed and all this stuff. Yeah, you're going to be blessed if you're not bowing, okay, because that really means to bow. Okay, so it says, may the Lord power of Shem be blessed, and may Canaan be his servant. 27, final verse of what this man quoted, and we're going to go over it step by step. Genesis 9:27 says, may the power expand the territory of Japheth, and may Japheth share his prosperity of Shem. So in other words, everybody's going to serve ultimately Shem. And may Canaan be his servant. Okay, beautiful. So let's I'm going to go straight to it. So this man says black people, right? So we're going to see who first and foremost, we're going to see who Ham is, right? So I'm going to go to the Bible dictionary first of all, and it's going to say basically what was just read here. It's going to say basically what was read in verse 24, okay? But it's going to go a little deeper. It's going to be cutting for you people out there. So you black people who think that you're Hamites, or you think that you're this man's slave forever. It says Ham. Perhaps it means it's pronounced hot, which is ham, right? Like you're gonna spit, ham. And it says the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood. This is what the scholars wrote. And the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. Not the Negroes. Did you hear that? So I'm clarifying what this man is saying. So for the people uproar about that, they must be Hamites. They're not very happy. I don't give a damn, because when you go back to the Negroes, they're Shemites. Okay, they're Shemitic people. They're Israelites. They're not Hamitic. Okay, and this man just rolled out from a rock somewhere. He's definitely, he's got the spirit of an oppressor, of the oppressor Esau, Edom. Nothing wrong with that, right? And that's why he used the term black, because he's trying to cause something to happen. All right, so I'm going to read that again. The youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years estimation before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians. But the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, they're going into the family of the Cush, you're going into the Hamitic people, right? He's the progenitor. Okay? And it says, let me read on, the Egyptians, the Cushites or Edomites, the Foothites, or I should say not the Foothites, but the Libyans, and the Canaanites. Genesis 10, you can look for the reference. I'm not going to do your study for you. Genesis 10, 6-20, right? The line is there. The original 8 nations, you can look at it, or the Adamites, another term for them. Okay? They're also called Adamites, by the way, or, because they, but as you can clearly see who the progenitor is, all right? And it says, his indecency when his father lay drunken threw a curse upon Canaan, not the Negroes. Okay? Not the Negro, not Negro. another dark race, and is mixed as well, mixed up, okay? But yes, they have melanin as well. So that's what I wanted to bring out with that. Okay, so that should be more than enough information, right? So the white leadership over the black people that this man is talking about, based on what was quoted, are the Hamites, right? And I read the order of servitude. So if this man is claiming to be a Shamite, right, he's either one of two things. And I'm just going to say this because I don't know much about this guy. he better be, right, as a Shemite, he better be either Jacob or Esau. Okay, because they have to serve, because the Hamites and the Japhetites, okay, have to serve Shem. It's just that simple. All right? So if he's not, I'm going to follow up on it when more information comes out. But I could end the video right here, right? Because I don't know if this guy is if he's of the Jacobite stock or of the Edomite stock. He looks like it. All right. So simply put, I'm going to leave you with that, right? Because that's really where I need to stop in the time of the mark of the beast. So maybe this guy was just called to shake up the Hamites. The Lord just called him, whether he's an Edomite or a Jake, I don't know. I don't know him personally. And but his ministry. His ministry is definitely of the cemetery type. I'm just being tongue-in-cheek, so to speak, right? So he went to seminary or cemetery, right? Because everybody knows what he's talking about. There's no new revelation here, right? All right, so I'm going to leave it with that, okay? Actually, I'm going to close with this, making this other statement here, right? So you have 8 Shemitic nations. Listen carefully, right? And you have 8, and then you have 8. So you have Yashar'Allah, you have Esau Edom, you have Iwalam, which represents Elam or the Indians, the Assyrians, Ashawara or Ashur, the Syrians are Rum or Aram, right? The Arabs, which is Yashimai Allah or Ishmael, right? So in other words, there's a purity of them, but right now you can't really tell because they're all mingled up, because their spirit, all of these nations, their spirit is off. Then number 7, you have the Mawahaba, which is Moab, and then you have number 8, the Japanese, or Imawam or Ammon, right? And then you go to the Cushitic nations, which I read earlier. Number 9 is the Ethiopians, or Kawash or Kush, okay, so to speak, Kawash or Kush. Then you have the Egyptians, Martazarium or Mizraim, okay, Martazarium is the Paleo way of saying it. And then you have the North Africans, which is Put or Pawat, at number 11. And number 12, you have the South Africans, so to speak, the region, okay, which Ham's sons were put in, and of course they're mingled out and they're still there. Canaan, right? And then you have, going into the Japhetic nations, here's the thing. You have 6 Japhetic nations. Listen carefully. So number 14, so-called, the Russians are Magawag or Magog, okay? Then you have the Greeks, Yawan. And then you have the Germans, the Ashkenaz, okay? Right? And then you have the Spanish, or Tarshish, or Thara Shayash, okay? And then you have, finally, you have Kittim, Kat Ha Yam, right? Cyprus. So we read in Genesis the original 8. We read the original 8, the original 8. Okay. And we read also simply put, the progenitor of the dark races, right? And then I added in there the Japhetic nations, which are 6 nations today, right? Spread out. Okay, that's what will come out of Japhet. So yes, so I'm going to leave you there with it. That was a table of nations, the 18 nations. You can pull this up and look at it carefully, right? So simply put, this guy's talking about the Hamites, right? The Hamites, right? But this guy speaks like an oppressor, right? When you hear the term white leadership. So I'm going to finish with this. In other words, if this guy's an Edomite, and then, the Lord's going to reveal that. So let's go to Job. I'm going to finish off at Job in regards to the oppressor, right? It says, actually, first of all, right, I'm not sure where this guy was coming from, like I said, with his statement, but Job 9:24 says, the earth was given, or the whole earth is in the hand of the wicked. The Lord gave them that, okay? Right, that was his. That's what he was given, and it says, and the Most High blinds the eyes of the judges. If he is not the one who does it, who is it? Right? Simply put. So, if Esau, Edom is not the oppressor, then who is it? Right? So the Lord has blinded the eyes to a lot of people, so that they can't see, but he's removing his hand so that you can see, right? Actually, you can see now, but that's the original statement, but right? Because it's in the form of a question. Who is it? Right? And Esau, Edom is it, simply put, right? So let's finish off here. One more precept. I'm going to go to the book of Job. Again, another book in Job 20. Yeah, this is the one I want. Right, I'm going to finish off the last 3 verses. So the oppressor, in other words, if this guy is the oppressor in the time of the mark of the beast, which is just about, to be urged, it just proves that Satan, which is simply put, the wicked, the so-called Edomite nation, Edomites. I'm not saying everybody that's white is an Edomite. I'm saying the Edomite nation, they're the wicked that the Bible speaks about. So let me show you that in the book of Job. I'm going to read 4 verses to close. This is Job 20 and 26. It says, their treasures will be thrown into the deepest darkness. A wildfire will devour their goods, consuming all they have left. Right? With all the wildfires we've been having in the earth. That's not what this is talking about. But simply put, this is the destruction that's coming to him from the Lord. It says the heavens will reveal their guilt. Right? So just as these people speak, their skirts are going to be lifted up, like it says in Habakkuk. Yeah, the skirts is lifted up high. You can see everything. They're shamed. They have no shame. Nothing. They're the oppressor. And what are you going to do about it? The Lord knows the Lord is going to do something about it. And he's already started that process with his elect. Right? But he's going to finish the job, so to speak. And that's going to be the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai's strange act. Job 20 and 27, it says, the heavens will reveal their guilt and the earth will testify against him. Right? He's calling out Ham. Well, that's fine. Okay? So it tells me he's calling about if you have dark skin, you're being called out. He's the oppressor. Right? That spirit. He's got the spirit of an oppressor. And that's the point I'm trying to make here. Job 20 and 28, it says a flood will sweep away his house, right? The nuclear missiles. The Most High's anger will descend upon them in torrents. You need to look that up, right? In the KJV, it says it this way: the increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath. That's what the word torrents go into. And final verse to close it off, it says, this is the reward that the Most High gives to the wicked. It is the inheritance decreed by Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. You see? Right? In Job 20 and 29, it says it this way in the KJV, this is the portion of a wicked man from the Most High. So he is from the Most High on the left side, right? He's from the side where it says, you shall not surely die. The Lord says you're going to die down here. And he says you're not going to surely die. That's his statement in his rulership, right? I'm going to give you all the fake foods and all the things to eat and this and that and this to take and this to that and da 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 da, da and on and on and on. Right? And he says you're not going to die. Right? And then out of another side of his mouth he says you're going to die. Right? So this is the portion of a wicked man from the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and the heritage appointed unto him, you see, unto him by the Most High. So yes, he is the oppressor. Right? That's and he's going to reap that reward. He's going to reap the wrath. But yes, he's appointed the oppressor. All right, so Lord willing, it was a little bit long. So Lord willing, this was edifying. May the spirit of prophecy be with you, be with us. All right, I'm speaking of the Lord's elect. Okay, so with that, I'm going to say Shalom, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone who rule and teach well in spirit and in truth, and to the men and women who are crying and sighing for the abominations that are being done within and without. With that, I'm going to say Shalom.